Welcome to the Life Giving Leader Podcast. Welcome back to the Life Giving Leader Podcast. I know it's been a little while, everyone. As a matter of fact, it's been a long while, but there's been a lot going on, a lot in our world, and that's part of what this podcast today is all about. We finished season 1 a while ago. I am currently working on season 2, which is all going to be interviews with people who led something they didn't start, and that will tie into the book release of Leading Things You Didn't Start on March 2nd, and go for a while. And let's interview people who are walking through a lot of that leadership content and have walked through it so we can see how realistic this content is for you as you step into those spaces. But today is just a one-off podcast. I've mentioned this for a long time in the first season, but I've got my friend Josh Turner. Hey, Josh.
What's up?
So Josh and I, a few months ago, almost a year ago now, I guess.
Yeah,
was it
about a year
April?
ago. Yeah,
April, May?
Yeah.
We've been friends a while. Josh now lives 4 minutes from me, and we are going to let you know a little bit about what we're up to. And I've mentioned this a few times, but we started a nonprofit. It is called 10, the number 10 Project. And Josh, tell everybody. Well, first of all, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Who the heck is Josh Turner?
Well, I'm usually a letdown because people think I'm the country music singer, and then they see me and they're just disappointed.
Even though our friend, as we record this today,
it's number
has
one on
number
iTunes.
one song on iTunes.
It's a great song
he was on
too.
Jimmy Fallon. Have you never heard it?
No, dude, it's awesome.
This is our buddy Thad
if you're
Cockrell.
listening, I really like your song.
He's the one that was on Jimmy Fallon this week because Jimmy heard his song in a hardware store.
Yeah. Oh, really?
You don't know this whole story?
No, I don't know anything, dude. I'm
going to tell the story in a sec because
all I do is fast and pray. That's all I do. If you know me,
let me explain that that's not true. Go ahead. So, Josh Turner, who are you as a non-country singer?
As a non-country singer, I've been a pastor for 17 years. Was a church planner. Was at a church for 16 years. Now I'm with an executive pastor at a church in Los Angeles. I work for One Hope
Which is
Ministries,
totally logical.
Which is totally logical. Well, I can't live in California, man. I'm too Southern. And so I work for One Hope. I help ARC with church planning, and then you and I started a nonprofit and a business in a global pandemic.
Because why not?
I've been married for, as I always tell people, I've been married for 17 years, about to have an 18-year-old, so I wasn't always serving Jesus.
That's fair.
If you can do math. And I have a 13-year-old daughter that is severely special needs, which is actually why we ended up moving to Georgia, because she got diagnosed for the first time ever at 12 years old, 11 years old, as the 12th known case in the world as a rare genetic disorder, which caused us to lose all of our Medicaid in the state of Florida. So then we ended up moving to Atlanta, 4 minutes down the road from you guys.
That's wild.
So, yeah.
And it's, I think Josh and I both, even if we had done this podcast a few months ago, we probably wouldn't even have the perspective that we have now.
No.
Of God's kind of faithfulness, the way He's orchestrated things. You and I both went through some pretty serious seasons of ministry, kind of pain and trauma, disappointment. And coming out of those, it's grown us in leadership. But what's been the most consistent connection in our friendship is seeing leaders and caring for pastors.
Yeah.
I think I've always known in the last probably 10 years of my calling that leading leaders and pastoring pastors is something I care about. It's something I did at Catalyst. It's something I've cared about. You were a pastor, but you've always had that piece to you, haven't you?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like when I was pastoring in Orlando, what was unique was when we went to the city.
Which I'm in Orlando way more than you are.
You
now.
are
That's
now.
crazy.
Yeah, except I
there.
fly there tomorrow to do a men's conference.
Go.
So when we moved there, it was right after 2 of the largest pastors had really come out that, they had affairs. Unfortunately, one ended up committing suicide in it. And so we end up showing up in the city, and we're pastoring the people that, had left these churches. And what I started seeing was not only the toll that it took personally on those families, but also the toll that it took on the person sitting in the church
right.
when they lose their pastor. And listen, I'm not saying anything about those pastors. We all make mistakes. We all do dumb stuff. Tyler way more than me, because I just fast and pray, as we've previously discussed. But
as we've made clear,
as we've made very clear. And but man, I really saw it. And then unfortunately, you and I have lost some friends to suicide in ministry, and I've had some friends that have had, been immoral in their marriages in ministry.
Yeah, they're out of ministry, even if it wasn't that ultimate decision.
And I'll never forget, I think the thing that always broke me for pastors was one of my best friends who really well, I'm not going to say his name on here, but he ended up having an affair. He was a pastor. He lived with me and my wife for 3 months. And I'll never forget us driving home from church one night and him in the front seat on the phone with his 2 young sons, as I could hear them crying through the phone, and and he was crying in my passenger seat, trying to explain why Dad couldn't come home. And that was probably 12 years ago.
And that'll mark you for a long
dude.
time.
I remember walking home to my wife Becca and looking her in the eye and saying, I can promise you, I can't promise you I'm going to be perfect, but I can promise you I will never cheat on you.
Right.
And so ever since then, it was one of these things where I was like, I don't, regardless of whether you like somebody or not, you don't ever want to see somebody
it's awful.
walk through that.
Yeah.
And so it really started breaking me for people in ministry. And then I was a pastor and a church planner, and dude, I hate to say it this way, but pastoring a church, man, if you're not careful, it will steal your soul.
Sure.
And
it
so,
can.
And
it's not just the spiritual component of it. Most of the time, that's the part you love the most. It's the leadership component.
It's the leadership.
It's like day in and day out, I'm supposed to be a CEO of a small to mid-sized company. Never had any training on that.
Nope.
All my training was on teaching and preaching the 30 minutes on Sunday or an hour, depending on your tradition. And then, the other 40 hours a week, I've got to be a CEO. I've got to be a really good leader to a staff. I've got to make sure the elders feel developed and cared for and included. And then, oh, by the way, I have to be theologically sound, concise, clear, and funny every Sunday, or people will tell me and they'll leave.
Yeah, and you have to raise money.
Right, so there's no pressure. It seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's it just has a way, and what was so funny is when I went and planted the church, I had been, running a large college ministry, fairly successful, I guess you could say, in ministry. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm ready.
Right.
I'm prepared.
Right.
I'm gonna crush this. And 4 years in, you're like, dear God, how do I get out of this?
Right.
And you're just you're in something that you can't understand it until you walk in it.
Sure.
And that's what I really learned. And I see all my friends, especially now in the COVID world and everything going on with, politics and racism and all the stuff that's happening. You're just like, dear God, these guys are carrying so much.
They are, and the target keeps moving, which makes it even harder. So here's one. Let's back everybody up for a second, because what's beautiful about really Josh's story and some of these other guys who are connected to this nonprofit we started is we've had enough moments in ministry that have taken certain leaders away from ministry. Mm-hmm. What I love about your story, honestly, about what I believe, this isn't an indication of whether or not we believe in the church. It's not an indication of whether or not we love the church.
Yeah.
If anything, it's a reminder of the calling of what we have. The truth is, there's just still realistic, or whether they're unrealistic or realistic expectations, there are expectations and there's realities. Mm-hmm. And the more successful you become in ministry, the more isolated you tend to become, 100%. Right? Because now your friends are either on payroll because they're with you, or they go to your church. So if you as a pastor or a leader have something you need to talk about in a safe place, they aren't safe anymore.
No.
Right? Then you've got elders who probably don't know what to do with some of the things you need to talk about.
And then part of it too is the reality is, and I've walked through this already this year with a few guys, if you go to your elders and you're struggling with something, they could have already thought that you weren't doing a great job and then just remove you.
Right.
And then you're like, no, I just needed help.
Right. Like to say, hey, I need $2,000 to go to therapy. What do you need? What's the problem? What's the thing? And what we have to realize is leaders of churches are men and women.
Absolutely.
We are as much that the problem, the challenge is, it's not a problem. It's just the challenge is there's just when you go in ministry, and rightfully so, you're held to a different standard of character, a different standard of morality. And what we find is, we still struggle with some of the same things. People have an expectation of how we're supposed to live our lives.
Well, And then what's so crazy is, and this is hard, and this is whatever. It doesn't matter when you get into ministry. The things that you've struggled with in the past, they're still there.
Right.
You have to manage them differently. But then,
I mean, I was good looking before ministry,
yeah,
and I struggled with that.
You
once
did.
I went
it was your
into
cross
it.
to bear. It was absolutely. And so, but
Not
then what
true.
happens is the pressure of ministry. If you haven't dealt properly with those things in
Sure.
your past, the pressure of ministry causes those things to raise their heads again.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing, I think you are too, is all of us, every human being on this earth, we have things from our past.
Right.
Like, find me one man that doesn't have a father wound.
Right.
Dear God,
Right.
Dad, if you're listening, I love you. But like, it is that thing. And so what happens is,
So weird.
it is, well, because he'll listen to it and call me later and be like, I wasn't a good father. And I'm like, no, you're a great dad, but come on.
Right.
You know what? I'll leave it at that. So, but it's one of those things like the pressure just causes things that you thought you once had victory over through Jesus to they can kind of come
Well,
back.
and let's be real clear. Scripture says there's an enemy that's waiting to kill,
100%.
steal, and destroy.
I was like, Southern side. He's going to steal it
but
from
the
you.
truth is that, like you here, and we're going to give you guys a little more insight of what we're doing with 1010 Project right now, or as we move forward in this. But you and I both looked at each other at one point as we were praying about, are we supposed to do this? And we recognize, I could see it in your face, I think you could see in mine, this is not an endeavor to be taken lightly, because we're going after the hearts of men and women who are leading really important, influential ministry space.
Yeah.
And the enemy hates that. Like the last few weeks
sure.
for me spiritually, as we are about to launch into our first excursion with 17 pastors.
Yeah.
I've felt the cloud. I've felt the things. I've had the triggers. I've had the things that the enemy tries to throw. We've watched some of these pastors have things thrown at them that would distract them or try to keep them from these trips and do the things that are from being a part and participating in our process. And we just committed to praying. Like we are fighting for our brothers and sisters in ministry. That's what. So the kind of thing that really tipped us into saying yes to do this to the Lord, because frankly, I was good. I was enjoying my own business. Mm-hmm. Josh was doing some of his own stuff. And we were together in March a year ago, and with our friend, a fellow friend, Brad Lomenick, with a bunch of pastors. And I think God was stirring us before this. But the guy who had led the time with these pastors was a guy named Darren Patrick, and he was a friend of ours, really close friend of yours, Josh. Mm-hmm. We had a really powerful night together. Just me and you and him and a couple guys, and it was really
dudes that were all wounded.
Yeah, but just being able to process with a guy who'd been through some pretty hard stuff. And then you and I get calls, 3-4 weeks later, and Darren had taken his life. And for me, that was the third pastor friend in 12 months who had done the same thing. And that's what stirred our souls to go, okay, we're tired of losing our friends. Like, I know for you and I both, it was like,
it's still confusing. I mean, it's still one of those things. And I think, you know this, but Darren and I were in the process of like trying to build this.
Right.
And we had just started and we were thinking through it and everything. And then, I talked to him the morning of, and it just floored me. And, man, you just look at it and you say, okay, this is what I always say. If Jesus says his yoke is easy and his burden is light, what are we doing in ministry that is causing so many guys, and myself included, I've been down this road, like so many guys to like burn out, make poor decisions. Like, is it isolation? It's all of these different components, like together. Not having
like
a
what we
safe
mentioned
place
earlier, like you were
spiritually.
trained to teach,
and
yet 80% of your job.
Well, I wasn't trained for anything. I went to Florida State University. I mean, I barely graduated.
But you're if you go to seminary, you go to get a degree or whatever.
Yeah.
It's in teaching, it's in exegesis, it's in hermeneutics, but it's not in leadership, which is 80% of what you're doing most of the time. And so you don't feel equipped to do the job.
Conflict management,
right? I love that stuff, Josh. You know
Good
that.
Lord, I know you do.
So here's what's cool. Josh and I just started praying about this. We had 4 or 5 places we were like, maybe we do this, but there was something really clear. I think we both felt at the same time, was that the Lord was calling us to do it. And we were just going to trust that he would open doors if that was the case. And so what we started, and tell them a little bit how the name came about, Josh.
Yeah, so we'd kept going back and forth between names, and I'm one of those guys, I can't stand naming things. I'm not good at it. But there was this one scripture.
His dog's name's Dog. I mean, it's just what it is.
Yeah. I call my wife. She calls me an idiot. And so there was this scripture that I loved. It's Ecclesiastes 10:10 that says, using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. And that was the thing that I kept coming back to, was like, so many guys are out there, they're hammering away, they're swinging away, they're doing all this stuff. And it's not just wisdom that they need, but it's also friendship. Yeah. It's the right tools to be able to use to put health in your life, to make decisions, to put up barriers, to put up roadblocks, all of these different things. And what I've seen so much in ministry is guys, most of the time, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, most of the time, they don't have a safe place to be able to have these conversations.
They don't.
And so I kept telling Tyler, I was like, I really like these. And I remember I was walking out of Publix, and you texted me and you said, what about, we just call it 10-10? And I was like, I think we need another word. And then you texted me project. And I was like, yep, there it is. Yeah. Like, it was just one of those things that came together. And what was unique was we already had the logo made that had the axe and the crook crossed in it, and it lined up with the scripture. And so that's really where the name came from, which I'm very proud of, because I thought it was really good.
And really, it's Ecclesiastes 10:10. And little PSA, public service announcement. We have some friends in ministry that actually have a ministry called 1010 Ministries. The numbers 10 and 10. Ours is the number 10, the word 10. But they do incredible marriage retreats and other things. And so if you see that, check out with them. We're actually going to partner with them on some potential marriage stuff and things. But here's where my years in event world and you and I doing a lot of different trips with different leaders came into play, as we recognized it can't be just one thing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of friends that are really good at, say, a 4-day excursion where guys get out and they disconnect and they feel safe. One of the challenges we've always felt is we've watched guys who don't have safe places to speak. They'll go away for 2 or 3 days. They'll finally feel safe, say a few things, but then they go right back home to a place where they no longer have that option. And so we knew it needed to be something that was longer than a 2 or 3 day retreat. I have always loved coaching. That's what the business is built on. I know that consistent monthly interaction with someone speaking into your life, walking alongside of you is important.
Yeah.
But then the thing that you and I both believed, and obviously connection, we want community, create some relationships. Yeah. But one of the big, unique pieces to the 1010 project that we're doing is the middle of this 12-month process these pastors will go through. Mm-hmm. And that's taking them through a curated on-site experience with our friends from On-Site in Nashville.
Yeah. Why don't you explain a little bit about what that looks like? Because you've been through it. Yeah. I haven't actually been through it, which I'm excited to, because I know they're going to dig
to just see the tears.
I know they're going to dig up stuff. Tell Miles to get ready to ride the dragon.
So Miles Adcox, he and Bob Goff just bought this property out in San Diego. It's called the Oaks, which was in a Young Life camp. But we're going to take pastors after 4 or 5 months of being together, take them through this 4-day therapeutic retreat with On-Site. And basically On-Site is, they have a program called Living Centered, and it is the idea of you go through this group therapy together and work on some of the obstacles that you trip over occasionally, and a lot of that, almost all of it, deals with something in the past.
Yep.
That's the big difference between coaching and counseling and consulting.
And let's be clear, we're not doing the counseling.
No.
Yes.
On-Site, the thing that we feel like the Lord gave us really clearly from the beginning was, let's partner with the best in the world at this stuff. And so that's why we've partnered with Wilderness Collective and Refuge Foundation to do the excursions we take the guys on or the girls on. And then On-Site, they will do the therapy. We are just going to add to the extra space, worship or prayer, or whatever the things are that we feel like are necessary in those days. But so the idea of now, you kick it off, and that's why it's fun that we're doing this. We're literally about to head out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming with 17 pastors and have 2 trips of guys starting this process for a 12-month thing. And they're going to meet the guys that are going to be in their world for the next year. Then we'll do monthly coaching with each group, all of us together with, like we've got Mark Batterson, our friend Mark Batterson, the first month. He's going to do an hour with everybody about some content, some leadership training. We're going to talk everything about how to lead an elder board. I know that sounds super elementary, but it's not. What does it look like to, have Henry Cloud talking about the health of your soul and the health of how do you take care of people well, just those sorts of things. And each group will then separate out for an hour and spend some time checking in on each other, making sure nobody's isolated or needing help. I think, Josh, one of the keys for you and I both from day one was we wanted to be a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Specifically because we realized this isn't going to be it. Like, guys, we're going to get in here, and there's going to be some guys that desperately need marriage counseling, or there's going to be some addiction stuff that we have to deal with. Being a nonprofit allows us to raise money through churches, through organizations, through individuals, to have money to scholarship guys and girls, to be able to send people,
them places.
Send them to on-site for a weekend for marriage retreat.
Yep.
That's the kind of loving we want to be able to do for the leaders that we're going to get to serve. And then we'll do on-site in the middle of that, do a few more months coaching, and then wrap it up with another excursion. So it's 12 months. I think our heartbeat at the end is that guys would have a group of friends who don't need anything from them, who aren't on payroll, but who understand their world and can ask the questions, and that they would have some tools to be better equipped to manage this space. So that's kind of the thing, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was talking to a guy today on the phone. I said, I can't believe it's a reality.
We're literally sitting in my office in the basement. We've got journals, books, hats, shirts. All the stuff's about to get packed to go with us to serve this first group of guys.
Well, if you think about the first meeting we had, it was sitting in, because COVID had just happened.
Yep.
It's us sitting in lawn chairs in your driveway.
I forgot.
And we're like, we don't have a name. We don't have anything. And then less than a year later, we're about to take 17 guys, 22 total with me, you, Carlos, and Steve. Like, I think that's the right math.
Yep.
Like, it all
not what you just did, but it's your numbers are somewhat close.
Carry the one.
There's a reason other people are in charge of getting people there.
Stay
I
in
forgot
school,
he was
kids.
coming.
And so, like, I mean, it's just, I told a guy today I had lunch with, I said, we couldn't have opened this door if we had known it was there.
Yep.
Like, it really is, like, all the different guys they're doing. I told someone today, I said, they go, so is it all just guys from like one camp? And I said, no, we got guys from the Ark World, Acts 29, Southern Baptist Convention, AG,
UMC.
UMC. I said, we've got every type of guy that you can think of, which is also going to be amazing to watch them interact with each other, because some guys are more free in their freedom than other guys. Sure. And so it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just excited to see what the Lord does.
One note about this, because a lot of people are asking us, like, well, what are you doing for women, or what are you doing for Christian business leaders? Or look, we're going to get there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But what we both know is that God called us because of a pastor, a male pastor that took his life.
Yep.
And so for us, we're stepping in to serve that specific space, because that's probably our sweet spot right now. What we're going to do is, as Josh has said the whole time, we're building the plane in the air a little bit.
Yep.
And so as we build this plane, and as we develop the different ways we can serve leaders and churches, we really can't make up the different doors that God's opening. But it's a beautiful thing, because as soon as we made the decision, God, we're going to be obedient and trust you to fund it and trust you to help us create it. He's just done that.
He's done it.
I think we're overwhelmed with gratitude, but we're also overwhelmed with the...
Don't screw it up.
The reality, we got some guys that this is important.
For sure.
And so if you're listening and you know somebody, a lead pastor, we're kind of staying right now with senior level leader in the church, because they need to have same world. Putting youth pastor with a senior leader just doesn't fit as much, but we might down the road have a youth ministry thing or a worship group. But our heartbeat is to go, how do we serve the church and make it better? Well, to do that, we help keep pastors from failing and falling and the collateral damage that comes when we lose a pastor. Our heartbeat in all of this is to be preventative in nature. Yeah. How do we give you the tools before you go off the rails to keep you from going off the rails? And so that's what 1010 Project, you can find out more at 1010. Again, it's number 10, the word 10, project.com. There's a promo video, and you can schedule a time to talk to Josh or I, figure it out a little bit more. We're starting our second group, so in June. Our plan is to kick off with another 32 guys.
Yep.
We're starting to feel like, wow, that's
It's actually doable.
/ that might fill up quicker than we thought.
Yeah.
And so we will potentially, we're just going to kind of go based on the need. And so if all of a sudden there's a need and we got to do 4 or 5 of these groups a year, done. We'll figure it out. And so we're just grateful that you guys listen to the story. But we, Josh, I'm excited that who would have known 2 years ago when we were in Montana.
That's when I found out I was moving to Atlanta.
Yeah, that you get this diagnosis from your daughter after you had this pretty painful departure from the church you had loved so long.
Yep.
Then you move to Atlanta, and now we're 4 minutes apart building out this nonprofit to serve pastors.
Yeah, and we go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming on Monday.
That's not terrible.
No, it's not bad at all.
So, again, go to 1010project.com, find out more. And we actually we have Instagram, too.
We do have Instagram, and hopefully we will have pictures
something.
on
We have one video on there right now, guys. It's strong. Hey, just for the record, Josh and I have been volunteering for this thing, okay?
Yeah.
Once we can give it a little bit more attention, it will be fantastic. But it is like God's built the thing we wanted to build.
We're excited.
So, all right. Thanks for being with us, Josh, on the Life Giving Leader podcast.